A lot of us can get very easy to just exist in this state of everything sucks mentality. And how we get out of that is one step at a time. The first step is identify one problem. But if you solve one problem, then you move on to the next and the next and the next. And after 2 years, very difficult for you to have problems. But if you identify a problem and then lean into it, right? Expand that problem. Who's involved? What does it mean? How much does it cost? When did it start? Will it likely continue? Ask yourself those types of questions about this single problem. Really get into it. Don't avoid it. It's really easy if we have problems to just let it go and then we just react to the blowing up and then we just kind of pick up the pieces. We're just living life fixing the blow up explosions of our problems, not ever really addressing the problems. We're just addressing the effects of the problems. Are you guys able to receive help from somebody else? Have you ever made the connection between receiving help from somebody else, willing to receive help from somebody else, and the connection and the relationship that has to your willingness and ability to receive help from the universe or receive help from God or angels or whatever entity that you have a gnosis and a relationship to? Because on a daily basis, we have this ability to open the door or close the door to energy, this abundance of energy that is being offered to us, both from an internal standpoint and even externally. When somebody says, hey, can I drive you to the airport? Do you say, no, it's all right? And why do you do that? Have you ever made that connection, that relationship to, for me, it's not standard for me to accept help. Some people, it's standard. They need help. They expect help. And hi, Papa. Hey, I'm just reading comments. You still whipping the Tesla? No, I am not. We started feeling the EMF after we had 3 different Teslas, Model Y, Model Y Performance, and the S Plaid. And especially in the S, where there's 3 motors, we started feeling EMF and we got rid of it. Luckily, we got rid of it before pregnancy with this baby so that there's no EMF impacting us. And we just went like the complete opposite. We got a Jeep Wrangler, gas powered Jeep Wrangler. But even with these new cars, we have to pay attention because they have wireless routers in them. And so if anybody knows how to remove that from a Jeep JL Wrangler, let me know because I want to remove that. But I definitely have it turned off. Thank you, Ra, for being here with us. So back to what I was saying. Are we praying? Are we expecting help from above, from the Lord's above? And then when it comes to us, are we rejecting it? I don't even, you guys probably know this. It's like an old memory, which I should have probably looked it up. You guys know the story about the captain's ship who's sinking. And then again, I'm going to butcher this story. And then another ship comes by and is like, hey, do you need help? And the captain's like, no, God will save me. And so then another ship comes by and is like, hey, I see that your ship's burning. Do you need help? And then the captain's like, no, God will save me. Anyways, the guy's ship burns down and he dies and he goes up to heaven. And he's like, God, why didn't you save me? My ship was burning. And he's like, I sent you 2 boats, but you turned them away. So thinking about all of the blessings that come to us, and are we turning them away? Are we turning them away? Even like the little things. Let me buy you lunch. Let me take you to the airport. Can I do this for you? What do you need? Are we able to answer those questions fully and presently? Because that's how it starts. And then when we go out of the body and into light, and we are part of this creation matrix, we are going to be working together in unification with a whole bunch of entities. And so when somebody in your life offers assistance, think about it as like your right hand offering your left hand assistance. Instead of doing things with one hand, you've got 2 hands. They can help each other. And that's what us humans are together. Savage Royalty is asking, have you heard of Anandamide? Anandamide? Are you talking about the molecule that is, or is it a hormone? one of the two. That there's some of it in chocolate, there's some of it getting activated with cannabis, and it also is active in flow state. Is that what you're talking about? Anandamide, also known as N-archidonylethylamine, is an endocannabinoid neurotransmitter named from the Sanskrit word for bliss. Yes, it's the bliss molecule, from what I remember. It is produced by the body and plays a role in regulating mood, pain sensation, memory, and appetite, and is involved in the body's stress response. Its full chemical formula is C22, which is carbon 22, H30NO2. It's synthesized by the body. It acts on the nervous system to influence mood, pleasure, memory, and pain perception. It's affected by stress. So it keeps on saying relevance to stress. Anandamide levels are affected by stress and can be influenced by the body's response to fear. So there's a really cool book called Becoming Superman. No, this isn't the book, is it? The Rise of Superman. It's called The Rise of Superman by Stephen Kotler. And it's about flow state. So Stephen Kotler is the co-founder and executive director of the Flow Research Collective. What that means is he researches flow state. And Anandamide has, or mide, however you pronounce it, has a lot. It's active during flow state. That's what the relevance to stress is. So Savage Royalty, who originally asked about it, saying it's how to reach the Ananda state, right? I'm deep in its study and have found that we must make the choice to honor the thoughts that oppose doubt. We must make the choice to honor the thoughts that oppose doubt. Actually, thoughts of doubt equals cortisol. We must make the choice to honor the thoughts that oppose doubt. So everyone loves some Anandamide. Thoughts of faith equals Anandamide. So Ananda, let's go back to the stress thing, because this also has to do with opposing thoughts of doubt. Because flow state is this blissful state where time slows down, and it's almost like you have this higher power channeling through you into moments of life that are critical, sometimes for competition, sometimes for your survival. In the book The Rise of Superman, he has several examples of this. One is like professional athletes, like extreme athletes, and them getting into flow during certain peak high events in their life. And another is like people that, like, one guy was trekking through ice, like in the mountains, and he slipped and was falling down like a cavern or a cliff or something. I read it a long time ago, so probably when it first came out. So I kind of forget a little bit of the details, but like in that moment, whether you're about to, 3, 2, 1, go, you're about to have to do like a skateboard trick over, 100-foot gap or something, or you're falling, what's required is beyond your capacity. And the critical spot is 104% from what I remember. 103, I think it's 104%. 4% above your capacity will stimulate this flow state that has anandamide present in your body. Other things that are necessary for it is embodiment. So I'm going to see what I can remember here. So flow triggers, got to fit it in here. Flow triggers, we've got 104% capacity. We've got embodiment. We need to be in our body. Embodiment, what's the word? Immediate feedback. So the immediate feedback means that you need to be like whether you're right or wrong, it's immediate. It's not things that, like, if you screw up, you're going to find out about it in 3 weeks. So an example of the examples that I gave you, the immediate feedback of like sliding down a cliff is if you do what it takes to get out of that situation, you live. And if you don't do what it takes, you die. Right? Same thing with like an extreme athlete. Immediate feedback, if you do everything right, you win. If you do it wrong, you crash and potentially, break your spine. So those are some other flow triggers. I think there's 7 flow triggers. Clear goals. So there needs to be a clear goal. So not only is there feedback, there's like a goal, there's a direction that you're going into. And then look up Kotler. This is his last name for the rest of them. And at the time of that book, I believe there was 7. And I think that he probably has more. I'm looking it up right now. It looks like 22 examples of unlocking fear: curiosity, passion, purpose, autonomy, novelty, complexity, unpredictability, and surprise, complete concentration, deep embodiment, immediate feedback, clear goals, challenge to skill ratio. So the challenge to skill ratio is right here. It's 104% of your skill. Seems like these are a little bit different of a list, but he's definitely improved upon the recipe. Complete concentration is necessary. It's totally vulnerable to answer the question, do you need help, from a friend or family member? It's embarrassing to most because theoretically we're supposed to know how to help ourselves. Not to mention talking about God like you was, the well-known adage, God helps those who help themselves. So some grown-ups feel responsible to know what to do when things go wrong, aka need help. If you allow the faith to take over your doubt and you can continue to do this until you bring yourself into the parasympathetic state. Lack of community in the world really hurt Anandamide. I forget who wrote this study, but there was a study of happiness. And usually when they do studies on like, who are the happy people? They're looking for the underlying factors that they all have, right? Like, or at least is statistically significant. And so when you think about things like income doesn't make people happy, or at least past a certain point. I believe the last time I looked, it was $175,000 of income. So you get happier the more income you make up to a certain point. I believe that number was 175,000. And then from there, like $1 million of income a year doesn't equal more happiness. It could actually equal less happiness. So it's not money. And what they found from the research that I am thinking about right now, which I forget where to point you guys for that, is that the thing that most correlates with happiness is the relationships that you have. And I believe they call them like secondary relationships. So it wasn't your partner or your kids or your parents. Those would be like primary relationships. But the secondary relationships, like what's the next circle out from there? When you walk out of your house, how do you relate to your neighbor? How do you relate to your coworkers? How do you relate to the delivery man? Where you get your food, whether it's the grocery store, the restaurant, how are those relationships to you? And very unhappy people don't have satisfying secondary relationships. Once again, primary relationships didn't have any statistically significant impact on positive correlation to happiness. Like it wasn't necessary. So you could be in a very, very unhappy marriage, but very connected within your community with satisfying, fulfilling relationships. And that unhappy marriage doesn't impact your happiness as much as the secondary relationships. So it was essentially the community around you was most responsible for whether you were happy or not, even more so than the relationship you have with your kids, your parents, and your partner, and your siblings, which is interesting because we now live outside of community. Most of us, like we live inside this box separate from everyone else. 104% for how long? Well, flow state's like a short-term thing, right? If you're at 104%, you're not going to be able to do that for very long because you're at 104%. So you can't really go outside your grasp for very long. Usually flow state is happening within minutes. But the point is that you can hack this equation and set that up for the entire day. Can we have the recipe, clear goals, immediate feedback, embodiment, right? And let's say we're a salesman. We're like, okay, what's the goal? I need to close 30 people today by 5 p.m. No, immediate feedback. The person you're basically going for yes or no. You're not just talking to people. You're not just sharing with them the offering. You're actually getting to the decision. the decision. And you're going to know very quickly what the decision is, because these phone calls need to be under 3 minutes each. So everything that you say is getting closer to the finish line. And if the person's a no, they're off the phone immediately. Complete embodiment. Maybe you're standing up while you're doing it, and you're like, the list of people that you're calling is not the regular list. Like, you're calling presidents of company today. You're not calling stay-at-home moms or unemployed people today. You're calling presidents today. So that's like how you can sort of hack the flow recipe to get you into flow and practicing flow so that you're performing at a higher level. Just example off the top of my head. So you can hack whatever if your job is what you want to do it. If your job is not what you want to do, like say you're practicing a musical instrument, it's the same thing. You use this, you're going to get this song, like, that's the point. I don't really know anything about music, so I don't want to make a fool of myself, but you just translate that into music. Music is cool. It's just a lot of coordination that I haven't practiced. Extremely high incomes often result in paranoia of people want to be around them because of their money, not who they are. Is that coming from experience? It sounds like you have done some sales. What's the critical difference between promotion and sales? Well, I can answer that in a whole bunch of different ways, but I'll just do it off the top of my head. When I read promotion, what I thought about was like actually being a promoter. Think about a promoter of a nightclub or a promoter of a fight. Don King of Mike Tyson. Don King was not a salesman. He was a promoter. He was selling the fight, but he did it as a promoter. He promoted the fight. He highlighted why you needed to see the fight. And in that case, you would be attracted and drawn into buying the ticket, download, or whatever you did with pay-per-view back then, calling the number and purchasing the fight. Same thing with nightclubbers. The promoters do a lot of seducing, and they're showmen, and they have the microphone. And when you get there, it's like they're promoting. It's a good experience. It's their word. Else is, I would believe, would be like a prerequisite skill of being a promoter. Sales is ultimately one of the main goals of promoting, and it's also one of the components of promoting. But sales in itself is its whole other thing, and that's like a whole other basket of things. But like, to sell is to essentially match up a product or service to somebody's problem. Or a promoter is just sort of like blasting out to everybody why this thing is so great. A salesman is more like specific to solving problems for people. Watching a Mike Tyson fight isn't necessarily solving somebody's problem. So it's like, same thing with nightclubbing. It's like, it's all about the glitz and glam as a promoter, but a salesman is about solving a problem. Now, going to a nightclub does solve a problem. It solves problems for single women. It solves problems for single men, right? So it solves problems for bored people. That's not really the focus, though. The promoter is almost operating on top of that. The salesperson is more in those specific problems for people. So solutions to problems come through salesmen. Salesmen are responsible for us having the solutions to our problems. I live in the highest per capita millionaire town in my country. Oh, says the guy or the person. I don't know. Can't tell. Rainy Yoga Devi. Country. I meant country. Highest per capita millionaire town in my county. I joined 28-day reset. I was having vomiting sense when I was on day 2, rotating to the right. How can I promote releasing more in this area as I have previous liver surgery? Take it easy and pay attention to yourself. Does the vomit feel like it's helping you, or does it feel like you shouldn't be doing it? And then pretty certain you may or may not have gotten to, I'm pretty certain you haven't gotten to the organ reset. So the organ reset will have you specifically targeting your liver as well. Ra, let's suspend reality as if it is RN right now. If a genie, let's suspend reality as it is right now. If a genie offered you a commune style of living outside the box house where you get to choose the community rules and resources, would you want to do it? Personally, yes, but I also have family, which consists of people other than me, my wife, my child. And so a conversation with them would have to be had. That's like where the details of these things that we talk about, right? Like, we should be living on the land. We're in here with this EMF and all. It's like, okay, do you want to give up your car? Do you want to give up your clothes? Do you want to go back to hunting and gathering and drinking water that could potentially be, have all sorts of things in it that will kill you? Do you want to have a hippopotamus come stomp through your bed at night and trample? Like there's all of these sort of inconveniences that arise from it. And it's up to us to figure out how to get the benefit of the old ways into the new technology and the new consciousness of now. There's a lot of us who are operating from a state of fear, and security means everything to us as a people. And so shutting ourselves out from the very world that gives us life, meaning and purpose, fulfillment and happiness has seemed to be the cost of that security, right? And then it's like, well, who's making us afraid? It's like the news. Look at the news. Look at the media. Look what our parents tell us. Look what the news. It's just like murder and rape. And it's like we're getting a worldwide perspective of all the bad things that's happening across the entire planet streaming to us. It's like streaming to us. And it makes us think that when we walk out the door, we might get stabbed because there were stabbings in this city last week and this city the other week. But when you think about like what's actually happening on your street, probably not that bad. And maybe 50 years ago, somebody got something really bad that happened to them. But if you pair that with all of the not threatening things that have happened, you probably wouldn't be so afraid of others. Sales and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, says Scott. Not sure if in this live we can discuss this. Sorry, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I think it might have been, the twisting. I've been a promoter and never closed a sale. Promoting is leading people to the sale. Yeah, there's a relationship. And promoting isn't sales, and sales isn't promoting, but there definitely is a relationship. Rainy means queen. Yoga, you know what that means. Devi is queen. If my yoga teachings name gives me to me by my Himalayan guru. Cool. How is NLP sales? Genuinely curious. You know what I just looked at downstairs? Jeremy Miner's little black book. Literally, it's like on the counter downstairs. Carolina ordered it. So that has a lot to do with psychology, and I'm sure there's some NLP in there as well. News is designed to put people into a sense of fear. Watch it minimally. Avoiding fear doesn't necessarily mean that we get rid of all of our sense of problems, right? Actually, in my self-expansion app practice this week, we worked with our problems. This is a website. This week we did number one, and I'm not going to be able to say everything, but in this week's practice, we do a new one of these practices every single week. It was identify one problem. So a lot of us can get very easy to just exist in this state of everything sucks mentality. And how we get out of that is one step at a time, right? And so the first step is identify one problem. That might not have been something that you've done. It might be something that you have done, but if you solve one problem, then you move on to the next and the next and next. And after 2 years, very difficult for you to have problems. But if you identify a problem and then lean into it, right? Expand that problem. Who's involved? What does it mean? How much does it cost? When did it start? Will it likely continue? Ask yourself those types of questions about this single problem. Really get into it. Don't avoid it. It's really easy if we have problems to just let it go until things blow up. And then we just react to the blowing up. And then we just kind of pick up the pieces and then the problem still exists. Okay? We just fix the pieces. And really, we're just living life fixing the blow up explosions of our problems, not ever really addressing the problems. We're just addressing the effects of the problems. And so for us to be whole, expanded human beings that can coordinate and unify as one, it's up to all of us to make sure that our situation is clear and specific and on purpose, and we address our problems head on. And so pick one problem, expand on it, look at it completely. Then solutions. So in this part, you list complete creative solutions, complete creativity. What that means is you do not let your critical part of your mind come and interrupt your creative part. So if you have a problem, you guys list the problem that you have right now in the chat. Asking about promotion and sales because I'm great at promoting, but I have zero sales skills. Yeah, there's a lot of skills to be learned with sales, and it's an amazing profession. Website program is located online, SelfExpansion.app. Volunteer. What's one problem in your life? One problem. Creative. Procrastination. So if we just took procrastination, it's hard to expand on a procrastination. Hip hop anonymous? Procrastination. It's hard to just expand on the problem of procrastination. Or the problem of not being able to say procrastination. We would need to what problem is procrastinating in your life right now? Like, what are you currently procrastinating about? And I won't force you to say that, but let's say you're procrastinating about paying a parking ticket, which is something I procrastinate a lot about when I first moved to LA, because this freaking $80 tickets, then in a couple of weeks it's $160, and then all of a sudden it's $250 because I freaking parked in the alley behind my gym. Every single week I got one of those. Need to earn more income to buy a car. Okay, that's a good problem. Where I live, the transit is not reliable. So where I need to earn more income to buy a car. Used to live in a city. Okay, so I need more income. Expand on it. So now we get creative. So what creative ways can you produce income? So you start thinking, sell my clothes, be a teacher, create courses, OnlyFans, get a job at the gas station, create a fast food brand, become a website designer, sell music. Like, you start and you're like, OnlyFans, what the, like, you don't let, I did that on purpose because you don't let the part of your brain that says, no, don't do that. You don't let that jump in. And the reason is because when you start listing these solutions, you get out, like, these are all portals, because behind, say, working at a fast food restaurant, I don't know if I said that, but let's say behind that is a good idea. Or maybe once you OnlyFans, and you're like, wait a minute, maybe everybody on OnlyFans has a need, and maybe I can create a solution to that need. And since OnlyFans is like a booming industry, I can serve the people that are doing that by whatever, providing them something, right? So then maybe that's your specialty that can be your solution to your problem. But you get in this 100% creative mode. And this also is used in Hollywood or YouTube. I almost said promotion. YouTube production meetings. They get a bunch of creatives and writers together, and they have this phase where it's creative. And so we can utilize that to solve our own problems by just getting into creative mode. And then after that, then we go into critical mode. And then we refine this. And we ask yourself questions like, which one of these are pure fantasy? Are any of these immoral that I don't agree with? Do any of these, this is a big one, do any of these require somebody else's behavior to change? Does it require somebody to do something that they're not currently doing? Because if you say maybe my ex-husband's going to start paying me child support, right? So that's a way you're going to bring in more income. If he's not doing it now, you X that off the list, right? So anything that requires somebody else to change it doesn't belong in this list. And then you have, in the end, you have like a list of potential candidates of actions that you can invest in to do a job of solving your problem. Getting rid of stuff, that was the procrastination. I have had the courage to start my own online teaching course on how to be a real Puerto Rican, which is a course that tells people how to use Puerto Rican Spanish. It's a language course. You have not had the courage to start my own online course. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So, your problem is you're afraid. And so, actually, because you said, I have not had the courage. So, really, the list here is not about starting the course. The list is about the problem, actually, is you not having courage. And so, what we're looking for is like, how do I solve the problem of lack of courage? I read this self development book that is about this. I attend this fear seminar that dives into fear and what fear is. Fear, false events appearing real, right? So it's like I read a book about courage. I attend a self help seminar about fear. I actually just figure out a way to dry run this, right? So I like pretend to do this course. Maybe I do the course, I design the course without having to release it, right? Like there's no pressure to release it. So I work on it 1 hour a day and maybe that'll help me get over my courage. I do my first lesson in the mirror and I record, like what I did when I first started posting on social media is I recorded a video every single day because looking at a camera and talking was really weird in the beginning. And so I recorded a video every single day. And then that got me used to talking into a camera. That was like one of the things that I did to learn how to talk into the camera. I reframe what the camera is because the camera just looks like a camera. What if instead of looking at a camera, I pretend I'm looking at a person? And so you're just talking to a person. And so you practice talking to a camera as if it were a person. Maybe it's a person you know, maybe it's your best friend, maybe it's somebody that you trust, or maybe it's a potential client that you know, or your perfect client. So you're like, okay, so I'm going to teach this course. I'm going to teach this lesson to a camera, but I'm going to pretend that it's a person. And so you're like, that's one other thing I can do to address the courage thing. And then you have like a list and you're like, do any of these force anybody else to change the behavior? No, this is pretty much all me. Are any of these fantasy? No, I can do maybe this and this is fantasy. And because I can't afford the seminar, it's $10,000 and it's 3 days and I kind of feel like it's a ripoff anyway. So that's not a good idea. And you're like, okay, I can do these things. And then now you're taking steps towards overcoming your courage. I'm creating a digital product. Someone wants me to teach belly dancing. We're only responsible for our own behavior. I am in a permaculture design course that says design creative ideals, not logical ones. That says design creative ideals, not logical ones. To start the solution to the design solution you seek with land, but it applies to life. Creative ideals, not logical ones. So what I like to do is like we have logic and we have magic. So lo is the masculine, and then ma would be the feminine. Los, masculine, mama, feminine. So create the magical ideals. Creative is also feminine as well, so it makes sense. I gave away $1 million worth of clothes when I moved because I was moving to a different city with a smaller space, and I found an 8-year-old girl who they all fit. That was awesome. With the $1 million of clothes, maybe it was not American dollars. I'm not sure. I have a YouTube channel active since COVID. Yeah, I forget who said this, but and I kind of just referenced it a few minutes ago. Think about the things that you have as hired tools to perform a job. So like our clothes, or we've hired them to perform a job. And if they're no longer performing the job, then you fire them, you let them go. And then the age-old principle from Silicon Valley of hire slow and fire fast also applies when it comes to hiring new items to perform a job, a task within your life, hire slow. Do you really need that dress? Do you really need that new car? Do you really need another shelf? Do you really need another plant? What job are they going to perform? And is it worth the investment? And so if you get rid of things quickly that is not performing, whether you sell it or on Facebook Marketplace or give it away, then you also can hire slow so that you're not wasting more resources. Do you recommend specific books on overcoming fear or gaining courage? You know, that's a good question because I feel like I had an abundance of fear and I was shy and stage fright and all that. And I don't think there ever was a single book that addressed this, but it was something that came up in almost all the teachings that exist because it's something that we all deal with. We all have limiting beliefs. And I think that, yeah, I don't really have a resource for you. I used to work in fashion with designers. The clothes were all high end and they no longer fit me. My breasts got bigger. I was so happy to find someone who would appreciate the clothes. So it really was $1 million. And that was the same, I think Rainy Yoga Devi was the same person that said they live in the highest amount of millionaires per capita. I can't just throw out things. I have to recycle. I have guilt of adding certain items to landfills. There's so much. There's so many people that will take everything. I don't even think like giving it to like a donation center, that almost seems to be like last resort for me. Just putting things for free on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. Like the people that really need them, that's where they're looking. They're like on there, like, I need a wheelbarrow. Can I, like, is anyone giving one away for free? Or very, very, very cheap? And like those people will find you and come and get it. $1 million Canadian. What city do you live in? City or county? There's a lot of oil money in Canada. I know that. Money of oil. So the lesson here, we talked about problems. We talked a little about flow, and we talked a little bit about being open to. The lesson is to make sure that we're of integrity and that we don't have problems that are weighing us down. A lot of times the ruminations of thoughts that are half complete and just like things are wrong, things are wrong, things are wrong. That's because we're not addressing our problems. We don't have clarity on them. We don't have the specific nature of them, and we haven't addressed possible solutions. So there's just this endless like of things are wrong, things are wrong, things are wrong, things are wrong. And that really weighs us down to the point where we're not being our greatest expression of self to add to the collective. And so let's work backwards, right? Like fix some problems creatively and commit to the solutions that you come up with and do that consistently so that you're free enough to expand beyond your 100% to go 104% and to get into flow state. And within that flow state, you're going to be accomplishing things. And when you're accomplishing things, you're adding to the collective energy. And when you add to the collective energy, you then feel grateful to receive energy from the collective because you feel that you have reciprocated already. And it makes it easier to receive. And when you're receiving from the collective, then you're open to the increased energies from God or source or light or Allah, whatever your beliefs are, but you feel open and connected to the heavens. And when you feel open and connected to the heavens, then the heavens can actually give into you. They can breathe life into you. And when you go outside and you feel the sun on your skin, it feels like it's penetrating within you and flowing through you. When you speak to other people, you can feel that whole cycle of life coming through you. The plants, when you walk through a forest, will feel that this is you, that you radiate this energy and you recycle it. So when the plants and the sun and the air, they give life into you, they know that you're going to take that investment and you're going to give a bountiful return on that investment to the collective whole. And that's the benefit of working on our problems, is that's the first step. We get access to all of that. because we work on our problems and we become more of an asset to society. Society becomes more of an asset to us. We become more of a channel to the heavens. True, it's time to post and respond online. I was in Toronto. Now I'm in Learnington. The money here is in agriculture products, food, and music. My problem is in my parents still have control over me. Process for manufacturing. They're manipulative and verbal abuse. I want to shut them out and have guilt. I gave my trauma to the supermoon last week while grounding myself. So should I address this? That's a deep one. That's a deep one. It's a lifelong one for most of us. A lot of times our parents are a lesson that we start to understand when we become parents. And then we kind of like see their perspective because we thought they were wrong the whole time. And it's like, oh, yeah. And then it kind of opens up that channel. I'm not sure if you've crossed that threshold yet. Do your kriyas and or breath work that encourage or cultivate courage, since you never read a book on overcoming fear, which I am surprised since you read so much. Well, I just don't know if there's a book specifically on fear. I'm sure there is, but a lot of everything that I read has addressed fear. I'm just looking right here. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Finding Your Way in a New World, Choose Your Enemies Wisely, Great by Choice, Thinking for a Change, Power of Now, The Alchemist, The Anatomy of Breathing, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain. I would start with the Untethered Soul, because that's the thing, right? Like you're tethered to these ideas of not being good enough. So you're afraid. And so when you untether yourself from the story of the body, the first 3 chapters are about voices in the head. So we do address fear in Self-Expansion app, but it's like we do all different types of things for the psyche. What I believe is that we are not really specialists. I come from the CrossFit world, and in CrossFit you get good at everything. And when you get good at everything, you're good at everything. It's like learning how to swim actually helps you to be strong, which helps you to have coordination, which helps you to have agility, which helps you to have balance. It's like, so, but just working on strength makes you weaker at balance. It makes you weaker at coordination. It makes you weaker at long distance running, for instance. But if you're doing it all, they all kind of synergistically work together. And so it's almost like I personally have this like anti-specialist mindset or relationship to how I approach psychology. I think our psyche is made up of a lot of different things. And if we're exercising and training all of these different things in a container that's safe, like journaling, it's a safe container, you're not in harm by journaling. You can bring up, like this person said, things about the relationship with your parents while you're journaling without having to risk your parents judging you for that, right? So you do it in a safe container. All of these things. Sometimes we address fear. Sometimes we address our strengths, our targets, our goals, our weaknesses, our collaborators in this life, how we think about money, all of these things. We're addressing them all, and they all kind of synergistically work together. My hoarding issue has been holding me back for decades. Oh, yeah. Let it flow. Let it go. Open up space. Open up space. Let things go, and it'll come back tenfolds. I read Let Them, Mel Robbins. That helped me. Let them. My brother at 59 still blames my parents for things that happened 40 years ago, holding him back, when the reality is that he has trouble communicating with others. But your parents instilled that fear and insecurity. We can keep putting things on our parents. Yeah. And then your parents will die. And then there's no one there to blame. And you have encoded this experience with your parents of they're not enough. And now they're dead. So that doesn't even matter. They were never there to fill you up. That's kind of what you learn. It's like either you become parent yourself, that doesn't work, your parents will die. And then you realize like, oh, the answer has to come from within me. And then we get to relive a life with them, probably as our children. So then we get to understand what it was like to parent them. Come and reincarnate back, or relearn the lesson and don't have to do that. It's more about repeating patterns and where our beliefs are rooted than placing blame. I agree, especially as our world moves towards AI, we can put all our eggs into one basket. As my parents did, we're supposed to look up to parents, but as we age, we expand our learning. And I've learned my parents are closed-minded and restricted. Guys, they're closed-minded and restricted me on my dreams. There's a whole bunch of stuff we don't understand about our parents, right? So for instance, let's take me. My father was in his early 20s. My mother was like also in her 20s when they had me. I'm now 43 years old, just having my first child. So 20 years later, I have 20 more years of life lived as a single entity without a child, to read all these books, to learn all these things, to become more conscious. My dad worked full time, probably since he was like a teenager, in a machine shop, and then had me. And then because he had me, he continued to work. And then he had my brother a year later. And then they had my sister 2 years after that. And then my other sister 2 years after that. My mom took care of her kids. My mom opened up a daycare first in our house. Then they bought the house next door, and then she ran a daycare. So my mom is working full time, watching other people's kids so that they can afford to pay for us. My dad is still working, and this is like they're in their 20s. What was I doing in my 20s? I mean, I had a business. I thought I was responsible, but really, like, compared to being a parent, it's like laughable how little responsibility you have, even if you think your whole world is very responsible. And so it's like, okay, they weren't conscious. They fed me the most garbage food that I can imagine, but also that's what they could afford. They didn't have the internet to look up things. They didn't have Instagram where they do this and then you find out there's all this poison in this cereal, so you don't eat that cereal anymore. They didn't have that stuff back then. They just had, I go to work, I get a paycheck, I go to the store to get food for my family, and I come home and I have a loving wife that makes the food for my family, and we raise a family. And like, I'm here now because they did that. And there's so much that I could look at, right? Positive, I could look at negative. We all can do this with our own parents. But our parents went through different times than us. There's a completely different reality. We are in the new reality. The things that we learn about our parents that we don't like exist for us. It exists for us to know the things that hurt us about our parents. Everybody had stuff that hurt them about their parents. We had traumas. Some of us had sexual abuse. We had like parents that didn't care. Some of us had parents that cared too much. Some of our parents were physically abusive. Some of our parents overworked us. Some of our parents expected too much of us. Some of our parents put us in sports we didn't like. Some of our parents made us do piano lessons 7 days a week. Some of our parents talked shit to us. Some of our parents made us sick. Like, we have all of these issues that our parents do that impact us deeply. They cut us. They're wounds for a reason, because those wounds exist within our society, and we are the part of society that fixes that wound. We are responsible. The wounds that we have, we now have the role to offer and integrate our pain into a solution to the collective society so that the next generation doesn't experience that pain. And that's how we evolve as a society. The things that hurt us, we come up with the solution to. Our parents were the ones that gifted us with the knowledge that that is a painful experience so that we become creative and offer solutions to the next generations. We integrate our experience to the next generations. And guess what? You're going to leave the same sorts, you're going to leave different sorts of trauma on your kids. It's just part of it. None of us are just heroes in life. We're all villains and heroes at the same time. Some people, like some of us, others love us, and people maybe we don't even know hate us. Think about the people that pick your food. You think they have loving energy towards you, having to work in a field from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. every single day of their life so that you get to eat tomatoes and apples? Or what about the crystals that you're wearing on your necklace? You think the guys in Brazil who their best friend just died last week because the cave collapsed on them, but they have to go into 120, 130 degree cave today so you can have your crystal ring? We're participating in all of this. And those guys are receiving the wounds and the pain from you. And they're integrating it to figure out solutions for the next generation. So we all are getting wounded. All of us are getting wounded. And it's for a reason, because society's figuring itself out. We are the cells of Earth. And Earth as a collective is filled up with a bunch of different experiences. The experiences that we go through, these wounds that we take in, are for us to respond. We're like a cell. We're a self, but we're a cell that has been tasked with a role to respond with a program within a society that's not just impacting you, it's impacted a lot of people, but you are an agent of change that has been hired by the universe, by God, by the world to initiate the change. And it's up to you whether you do it or not. But the only way that it gets solved is if enough people feel that wound and somebody takes charge and does something that's going to collectively make a difference. Okay, there's a lot more comments, but I'm going to leave it there. Thank you guys for being here. I'm here next week, and I'm at raw_of_earth on Instagram. And love your parents, guys. Without them, you don't exist. And I would say love everyone. Love your enemies. Love your presidents. Love your opposition, your ops. Your ops are what's making you stronger. It's the force. It's the opposing force that initiates you to act, initiates you to get up off the couch and act. And the more that we sit on the couch, the more we just get depressed. And so get out and express yourself, because expression is the opposition of depression. Take care, y'all.